Have you ever looked at the news lately, seen a headline, maybe about a natural disaster or some conflict somewhere, and just felt this weird sense of deja vu, like you've heard this kind of warning before? Well, today we're doing a deep dive into exactly that. We're looking at a really fascinating set of ancient texts, specifically from Matthew 24 and 2 Timothy 3. They explore what they call signs of the last days.
Yeah, and our goal here, our mission, is really to pull out the key ideas from these texts. We want to understand what these signs actually are, what they might mean, and maybe most importantly, why these sources tell us pretty clearly not to panic. And just to clarify, when these texts talk about last days, they're not necessarily pointing to, tomorrow's apocalypse. It's more about describing a specific foreseen era, a time marked by some pretty big shifts societally and globally, a period of significant transition.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So with that framework, let's get into it. These sources describe the signs as birth pains, like initial contractions before something bigger. So what stands out first when you look at these texts? What are those first pains?
Well, what's really striking, I think, is how almost clinical 2 Timothy 3 is, verses 1 through 5. It diagnoses the societal condition focused on, well, radical self-interest.
Self-interest? How so?
It describes people as lovers of themselves, lovers of money. You see traits like arrogance, pride, being ungrateful, lacking genuine love, no self-control. It paints a picture of unkindness, betrayal, recklessness.
Wow, that's quite a list.
It is, and it mentions people prioritizing pleasure over God, maybe having this outward show of spirituality, but, without any real inner substance or power. It's almost like reading a social psychology report, but from thousands of years ago.
It's kind of spooky, isn't it? How many of those things feel, well, strikingly familiar today. You see echoes in social media and public arguments.
Exactly.
But hold on, if these traits like selfishness or arrogance have sort of always been around in human history, how do the texts suggest we tell the difference? How do we know these are these specific birth pains and not just, the usual human failings?
That is a great question. And that's where the bigger pattern comes in. It's not just about individual behavior in isolation. If you connect it to Matthew 24, verses 4 to 8, the focus shifts outward.
Outward, like to globally.
Yeah, to global events. It talks about wars and rumors of wars, nations fighting nations, kingdoms fighting kingdoms, and then it groups those things together with natural disasters, specifically mentioning famines and earthquakes happening in lots of different places.
Ah, okay. So it's the combination, the moral stuff and these larger global upheavals happening together.
Precisely. It's presented as part of a larger interconnected pattern, not just random bad news here and there, but a kind of convergence.
Right. And this is where Matthew 24 gives that really counterintuitive instruction, doesn't it? It says something like, you're going to hear about wars and threats of wars, but don't panic.
Exactly that. Don't panic.
These things have to happen, but it's not the end yet. It's telling you to be watchful, maybe prepared, but specifically not alarmed.
Right. And that raises a huge question. Why? Why say don't panic when describing things that sound, frankly, quite alarming?
Yeah, why?
Because the texts are really clear. These events aren't the final curtain call. They're presented as the first contractions, those birth pains again. They signal that more is coming, that this is an active process, maybe even a painful one, but it's leading somewhere. It implies a purposeful unfolding, not just chaos.
So it's less about the what and more about the how we're supposed to react.
I think that's a great way to put it. It's about our response, our perspective.
Okay, so what does this all mean for you then? For the listener watching all this unfold in the world today, it sounds like instead of fear, the sources are pushing for what? Readiness, understanding, staying grounded.
Yes. I think the core takeaway is that these ancient writings give us a potential framework, a way to look at complex world changes and see maybe a pattern instead of just random scary chaos. The key message seems to be keep your perspective, understand the signs maybe, but avoid the panic.
So if these signs really are like birth pains, indicating something new is developing, what does that perspective inspire in you personally? How might it change the way you navigate daily life or how you view the future? What could it actually mean to be ready in times like these? Something to think about.